Hello, viewer. We welcome you to another year 2024. Welcome to such a gracious year as the Lord has graciously, brought us into. And I greet you Happy New Year, both for you and your family members and friends. Again, we have with us the Diocesan of the Diocese of Lagos Mainland Anglican Communion, the Right Reverend B.C. Akinpelu Johnson, who has graciously accepted to come today to speak to us and to bless us in the new year. You're welcome, my Lord.
Thank you, sir, and a Happy New Year to you and to all our viewers as well.
Right, my Lord, it is the start of another 12 calendar months, and then I'd like to ask what should be the emotions, around this new year. Of course, everybody, perhaps will have one, thinking around the year or another. So, what should be the emotions around this new start of another year?
Well, first of all, when we come into the 1st of January, we know that we have done so just by the grace of God. So, the most important thing, of course, is to thank God for life, the gift of life, and the opportunity of seeing the beginning of another year. And always the hope and expectation that every new year will be better than the last one. That's usually our prayer. And so it comes in, and we are still in the festivities of Christmas. But however, what I find, maybe because of my background, I find that sometimes we celebrate New Year so much, or the 1st of January so much, that we miss another very, very, very important celebration in the life of Jesus. And that is the naming and circumcision of Christ, which also falls on the 1st of January. And since my arrival in this diocese, I have tried as much as possible, especially in the cathedral where I worship on the 1st of January, to let them see that the naming and circumcision of Christ is also very, very important. Just as important as maybe the 1st of January. So it's possible to hold the two together, 1st of January, thanking God for all that He has done in the past year, for His grace and for His mercies, as we sing for mercies, countless as the sands, which I receive. So that is very important, but also the naming of Christ, the circumcision of Christ. And later on, of course, those were important milestones for us, for Jesus, like for us, especially, within our own culture, within the Yoruba culture, the naming of a child, very important on the 8th day. And then for a male child, also circumcision. And for Jesus, being a Jew, was part of entering into the covenant of Abraham, the covenant of circumcision that Abraham had with God. And sometimes we lose this with the celebration of the New Year, which is okay, you celebrate that, but we mustn't lose sight of that on the 8th day, Jesus was circumcised and He was named. And that was, the names that had been announced by the angels. So bringing that to us, what are our names? What the names we bear? How do we live them? How do we, first of all, as a Christian, how do you live that? How do you live it out? And then secondly, talking about a Yoruba name, for instance, Toluwalope, Oluwadunsin, how do you live that out? So naming, circumcision, very, very important as part of the life of Jesus, which we shouldn't miss out on.
Well, thank you, my Lord. It's very important that we know that why we celebrate, the excitement of getting into a new year. Let's also see that there is a very, vital occasion too around Christ's naming and circumcision. Thank you, sir. Then, based on all that the people faced in the past year, 2023, now, what do you think, sir? That how do you think the people should start the new year, considering especially the financial pressure that they face, all of the experiences that they face in the past year, and just starting another year now?
Well, how do you face a new year? The fact that, first of all, God has given you life and you are alive, and there's this saying that where there's life, there's hope. So everybody will preach hope. I will preach with hope. Again, there's this hymn we sing, through the love of God our Savior, all will be well. So we are hoping and we expect a bright tomorrow. All is well. So we cannot live life without hope. St. Paul says, faith, hope, and love abide, but the greatest is love. But but hope is very important. So it's a hope that the year 2024 is going to be better than the year 2023. 2023 was difficult, to say the least. It was very, very difficult. The costs of fuel meant that cost of food, everything went up. Lack of power, industries, multinationals exiting Nigeria, unemployment rising, kidnapping not abating, the promises of political leaders not yet manifesting. But in spite of it, we are alive. So we must have hope that God indeed in our own lifetime will restore Nigeria to its former glory, and we cannot live without hope.
All right, thank you, my Lord. Now there is this popular, idea of New Year resolution, like it's widespread at every New Year, right? So do you think that the church should be a part of the heralding of such idea, especially around life and spirituality? Do you think the church should also begin to announce that and say, okay, ABCD should be done this year and all that?
No, if it's a New Year's resolution, it's a personal thing. And perhaps also it is not different to the need for the gospel call for us to examine our lives and to see whether, again, what Advent was telling us, whether we are in a right standing with God. And sometimes even New Year's resolutions don't necessarily have to be spiritual.
For sure.
For instance, if I have to make a New Year's resolution, it would be to eat more healthily to help my blood sugar issues. So I should start with the New Year's resolution that this year I will not drink Sprite. I will not drink Coke.
Okay.
But I'm sure that the moment I do that, the Sprite becomes more, it becomes more, hey, you don't want to drink me. Okay, whether you like it or not, you will see me everywhere you go. And you will have that little sip of Sprite.
That's true.
Maybe instead of finishing a bottle at a go, then I will say, okay, I will have just a little at a time, But again, that talks about our determination or otherwise to be able to overcome things. So sometimes, whether the church should be involved in it, I don't know. But if it is to encourage people to do the right thing for themselves, not only spiritually, but also maybe come to church more often, pray more often, fellowship more often. If you put it in that way, then it's no different to what we tell them every time. And if it is that this thing is not good for you, cut it out. This year I will not smoke. This year I will not drink. We know that those things have implications for our health. So,
All right. Thank you, my Lord. Well, you just mentioned that last year was very, very, so to say, rough, because of the hiking number of things out there that we buy. So for some policies, for some policies and decisions from the government, what would be your counsel, especially to our government leaders or our political leaders, whether in the states or in the nation, around policy making, for this year, as definitely it will affect the masses?
Well, ordinarily, I keep saying that I'm not a politician. I don't understand politics. But I know that policies, if they are well intentioned and they are well, and the follow-up is good, can be positive. But sometimes we, the followers, are the problem of the leaders. And that's the gospel honest truth. Politics in Nigeria is too expensive. And we can only pray for them, but also pray for the followers to follow. Because the difference between us and other countries that are doing well is not that we don't know what to do. It's just the will to follow that is the problem. And let's look at law and order, for instance. Let's look at a bit of traffic offenses, and some of it is coming in now. Now people are more mindful of the need, for instance, to change your vehicle license because if the cameras pick you up, nobody's going to fight you. When you want to go and renew those things, then they'll tell you that you have a fine to pay, you must pay it. So now we are becoming more mindful. And that is what has happened in advanced countries. Cameras are everywhere. To solve a murder, they'll just go to CCTVs in the area. Cameras are everywhere. But in order to make all these transitions, then we are looking at also, do we have the power supply? So what is the relationship between those who import generators and diesel, between a lack of power supply? So those are the things. If I were to make a policy now about transportation, about fuel, about the roads, I was on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway yesterday, and as beautiful as the road is compared to what it was before, I'm sorry, I don't think it's going to last. Already the roads are being damaged. I remember in the old days, no trailer will go on that road without being weighed first of all. Those weigh bridges are no longer there. So such politics, and then on the policies and stuff like that, even that our infrastructure can be preserved rather than wasted. And then they do the roads. Where's the maintenance? The drainages are blocked, plants are growing, trees are growing. When the rains come, the water has nowhere to go. It goes back to the road, spoils the road. So there's such a myriad of problems. Having said so, the expressway is beautiful, but can it be maintained for the future? And the other day I drove on the flyover when you're coming from Yaba, coming back home now from Yaba, that end is so beautiful because you just go across the flyover and you know that you can guarantee that when you get there, you are getting home in the shortest possible time. If you are going to Apapa Road to that side, you can get onto the flyover from Ibadan Street, get on the flyover, turn right, and you are there. So we see those things, we see those developments, and we commend especially the Lagos State government for this infrastructural development. And of course, other things are important, but government cannot do everything alone. Maintaining the drains, why do our people throw rubbish in the drains? You pack out the drains, the same thing is going to go back in. So our people, policies are good, but the followership is also as important.
All right, thank you so much, my lord. I have this last question for you.
Okay.
Perhaps the other one would just be for you to just final words, to the audience. This is, based on what you were saying. Don't you think, or do you think, that it's the issue of followership or the issue of enforcement on the side of the leadership?
No. Well, what it is that enforcement must be for everybody, both leaders and followers. So nobody should be above the law. Then it works better. So for instance, let's take the traffic offenses, which are, important. So I tease some members of Lagos State government that I am close to. I say, what happens when your car is being fined? I say, everybody, we all have to pay the fines. So regardless of whether you are this or you were part of the system, then you know that you are, you are in it. So that's part of enforcement. Enforcement should be for everybody, The other thing would be followership. Yes, there are certain things that followership will do. So for instance, somebody wants to do the right thing. Followership sometimes might not want that person to do it. And if it's a political decision, especially if he's hoping to come back, then what does he do? It's like taking a child for he's going to get an injection, it's going to hurt, he's going to cry, but at the end of the day, the injection is very important for that child. So sometimes there are certain things that followers must endure. And look at the issue of subsidy removal. It should have been done many, many years ago. But that it was done. Yes, there's a whole cry and everything, but Nigerians, by God's grace, some people are suffering, a lot of people are suffering. But Now we still struggle to buy the fuel at whatever cost. Because we cannot do without it. Let us hope that the sacrifices that we make, even from the point of view of fuel, from the point of view of the inflation as it is now, let us hope those sacrifices will pay great dividends for the future.
All right, Malo, thank you so much, sir. It's been a wonderful time with you. We hope that at another time that we would like to have you, by God's grace, you'll be around to enlighten
Amen.
us the more. Thank you so much, sir. It's been a session with the Bishop of the Diocese of Lagos Mainland Anglican Communion, the Right Reverend B.C. Akinpelu Johnson. Thank you, my Lord.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to you and to all our viewers.
Right, thank you. So we wish you, in the entire Diocese of Lagos Mainland, a wonderful and glorious and amazing new year ahead. God bless you. Bye.